Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get started on these stories, I just want to give a general warning for this video. Pretty much all of these stories are really dark and disturbing. If you want to know what goes on in each specific story, just check the timestamps. I'll have them labeled with each warning about what's going on in the story. All that being said, if you're ready, let's get started. And remember to always stay hungry. This took place when I was only 18, and I already had some bad experiences with guys in real life. I'm going to leave out real names for privacy reasons, and for context, I'm a female. There was this guy who I'd like to talk to in YouTube comments from time to time. He seemed normal during our common chats, so I decided to add him on Discord. That turned out to be a big mistake, and he turned out to be a creep with a foot fetish. When we first started talking on Discord, everything seemed normal, until he asked me what my shoe size was. At the time, I didn't fully understand what a fetish was, let alone a foot fetish. After I answered and gave him my shoe size, he then said that he had a foot fetish. He then went on to tell me that he watches hentai, and I had no clue what that was until he told me. After he told me what it was, I was disgusted. That's not the only weird stuff he did and said though. He was in a few of my Discord servers as well, and he would lash out at me whenever they would get raided. I knew some of his ex-internet friends, but I didn't know at the time that they didn't like him or who didn't like him. The first time one of my servers got raided, the people who raided it went after him, and then he took it out on me. He texted things like, "We have a problem." He also told me that I was ignorant for not coming online. I couldn't go on Discord at the time because I was at a graduation practice. He texted me several times and tried calling me. I ended up having to delete the server because of him spamming me and him wanting me to get online. I found out why his friends hated him. He was 20 at the time and he was dating a 16-year-old girl at the time. I found out because he told me. I didn't get a chance to read all that was said in my server, but after that I could tell that he was extremely weird. When my second server got raided, he had texted, "We have a problem, bitch." He had texted some other things as well, and he called me 21 times exactly. The people who raided my server this time didn't even really have anything against him. When this server got raided again, he ended up sending my server link in a Discord server where the members would raid other servers. Later on, after other people raided my server, he said that he wouldn't be mean if we dated, but I then declined his offer to date me. He then asked me to date him later on again, and I ignored the question for a while. He kept on messaging me, and I gave in and told him I would as I was afraid he would flip out on me again. We ended up only dating for 4 days, and the first thing he wanted after we started dating was a foot pic from me. I had tried telling him that I was already in bed, but he just kept on insisting that I send a pic and then get out of bed. I ended up sending the pic. After I did send the pic, he had caught on to the fact that I had jeans on, and he asked me how I could be in bed if I had pants on. In the midst of all this, I also recall him sending me a pic of an anime girl body pillow and telling me that he was also a weeboo. I don't remember when he told me this, but it happened when we talked. I told one of my internet friends about what happened, and he was then confronted in a group call. One thing I forgot to mention is that the guy had also sent me a video that told me to consider suicide, and after I told people what he did, he told me that he hoped I would die, and he also blamed me for making him lose friends. In a group chat where my friends got onto him, he acted like he didn't even care that he hurt me. Also, after this all went down, I had heard from someone that the same guy wanted to still do sexual acts to me, which still makes me feel really uneasy. Luckily, I don't talk to him anymore, and I also don't have to deal with someone spamming anime feet pics in my server anymore. What a creep he was. I'm a teenage girl living in Canada, and I've always really liked video games. One Saturday night, I was bored and I was messing around online. I found a random site that lets you play random games, and the site had a chat room at the corner. I ended up talking to some random dude who said he was a teen too, and I'll call him Dave. I obviously wasn't going to tell Dave anything about myself because he was a stranger, but we ended up playing a ghost game together for about an hour, and it was pretty fun. He asked if I had headphones on, and he told me that he'd love to hear my voice, but I just said no because I didn't feel comfortable. I told him my age, which was 16, but that was it. I gave him a fake name too. After our ghost game ended, he had asked if I wanted to play another. It was midnight, and I said sure because I wasn't feeling tired yet. He told me that he wanted to show me something that he found super exciting, and then he sent me a link to something. I know anyone listening to this will be shaking their head and screaming at the screen, but I naively clicked the link, honestly just expecting it to be a video game. The link took a really long time to load, like a full minute, which was odd. It wasn't a video game he showed me. It was a really disturbing video that still haunts me to this day. I will explain what was in the video as briefly as possible, but I need to give a warning now. It's extremely upsetting and it involved sexual abuse. The screen showed a woman who was very petite and thin, but she was definitely an adult, not a child. She looked to be of East Asian heritage, and she was lying on a concrete floor on her back, and she was trying to get away from a group of men. The men were recording videos and taking photos because flashes just kept going off, and she was crying and screaming as literally multiple men did things to her. It makes me shake to even type it out. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but I think you all have an idea of what these men were doing to her, and it was truly disgusting and awful. Anyways, my sound was on, and the sound of her screams makes me cry even now, and all the men were just laughing. I was so frozen and I felt like I was going to puke, but I couldn't close the screen due to how horrified and shocked I was. I didn't want to see it, but it was just too late. The screen then suddenly changed and someone began pouring something onto the woman's private parts. It was then that I regained control of my body and then exited the tab. It took a long time to shut, and I was then shaking and sobbing. I went back to the chat room thing and I had asked Dave what the fuck he just sent me, and was this some sort of mistake? This sick motherfucker told me that it wasn't a mistake, that he just wanted to share one of his favorite videos with me. He said this video was nothing, and I should have finished it because it only got better, and apparently I saw nothing based on how quickly I came back to the chat. He then went on to tell me that it was a disturbing form of porn, and he thought I was cool and would like it. I didn't even respond. I just turned off my laptop and then ran to the bathroom and threw up. I sat in there crying my heart out because I couldn't process what I'd seen, and I couldn't get the cries of that poor woman out of my head. They were ringing in my ears, and I couldn't forget the horror that I'd witnessed. I'd literally saw a crime on the internet, and I didn't know what to do. I was scared to tell anyone in case I'd get in trouble, but I felt like I was losing my mind. I couldn't sleep. I spent all night crying. The next morning, I had told my parents what happened, and they were disgusted. They weren't angry with me, they were angry with Dave, and they told me that I'd done the right thing to tell them. We contacted the police and they came and spoke to me. I gave them my laptop because they had asked for it, and they told me they were glad that I told someone about what I'd seen. The female police officer helped me so much, and she provided me with some much needed comfort. She said that she had seen some really horrible things in her career, and she told me it would do me a world of good to talk about what I'd seen with someone. She told me not to bottle it up because it would only get worse if I did that, and telling my parents was the right thing to do. For weeks, I felt like I was in a daze. I would have nightmares about what I'd seen, and even now, the look on that poor woman's face is tattooed in my brain. The police had my computer for several weeks, and they did get access to the video. They never traced Dave, and I don't know how, but I know they tried. But at least they're aware of him, and they did see the video. I don't know what the fate of that woman was. I'm not sure if she's even alive or if those men killed her, or perhaps she took her own life after what those monsters did to her. I don't know how someone can move past something like that. I don't know what happened to the men in the video either. I know it was longer than what I saw. I don't know if the men showed their faces because I can't even remember, and I didn't even watch the whole thing. All I could focus on was the agony that poor woman endured. I pray that the police find them someday. Sometimes I pray that those men will end up in a ditch somewhere, but death seems too good for them. I eventually got my laptop back, but I've never gone surfing on the web since. This happened months ago, and the whole thing still haunts me. My school has a counselor that we can be referred to, and we can chat about anything with them. I've started seeing the counselor, and it's helping. I'll never be able to forget what I saw. It's burned into my memory. It's not easy for me to move on, and it's not easy to push it to the back of my mind. I know that many people might think that I'm being dramatic, but the woman that I saw was a real person. Just because I saw it through a screen doesn't make it any less real. It really scares me to think that there's real guys out there doing these things and watching these videos. I really hope no one else makes the same stupid choices that I did. Never talk to strangers online, and never click on any random links. Never trust anyone on the internet. And if you see something, definitely say something. I've been watching this channel for years. I would like to help others and let them know that they're not alone in this. My name is Rose. I'm 5 foot and I'm 38 years old, but I don't look it. I was a very sick newborn, even died twice. I have physical and mental disabilities. I was in special needs classes during most of my schooling. Names will be changed because I don't want these people to find me. I'm from Alabama, born and raised. I'm on disability because of my health problems. I can't work anymore, so I've been on YouTube since it was created. This had started happening on one of my newer accounts. I'm not a big YouTuber or anything. I've never really looked at this as a job, but just something fun to do. I have a lot of different interests. I'm also a Christian and I had a channel called Sammy. I wanted to teach about Jesus, as I had felt God calling me to do it. I was reading out of the King James Version. I was explaining about what the verse was about. Well, this lady didn't like it. Let's call her Abby. She had misunderstood what I was saying, and she had found my personal Facebook, which isn't linked to anything, nor my Instagram. It was really weird, and she had threatened to ruin me and come to my house in her van. I tried to make things right and apologize, but no use. I hate no one. I have family and friends who are gay, and some aren't even Christians. I'm just reading God's words, but she didn't like it. I couldn't be on my Sammy account or my main YouTube channel. She would always find me no matter what. It was getting bad. That was in the summer. But new stuff happened this past November. I had someone bang on my front door. After Thanksgiving, but before December, I had someone banging on the door and it started jiggling the doorknob. It was insane. Then it all stopped this December. Yeah, very recently someone had tried to add me on Instagram. It was my stalker. I had recognized all of the pictures. She had her account set to public. I had mine on private because there are a lot of sick creeps out there. All of my profiles are set to private, and I won't add anyone unless I know them. Safety first. Stranger danger can be for adults too. Then she had her Facebook linked, and this chick is seriously a huge catfish. I saw all of the profiles and so many more on Facebook and Instagram. Then thanks to some of my friends that I've met on YouTube, the internet can be a really wonderful thing in place. But sometimes evil people can get their nasty hands on it. My friend who we'll call Mary wanted to know how this all started. By this point, all of this was playing a huge deal on my mental health. So I explained what happened, and I went on my friend's account. It was another person and her husband that are on YouTube. Well, they lied to me, and they told me that they would block the stalker. Well, I found out recently that they're all in on it, and I've never met these people in person. So I had thanked my friend and made some new accounts and then blocked everyone. I'm no longer doing YouTube. This just stressed me out way too much. I used to also sing on there as well as doing cooking videos, but right now I'm just looking for peace. Please everyone, be careful who you trust online. They may not have good intentions like you think they have. Listen to your gut. If it feels wrong, then it probably is. I was right to think that this husband and wife were with the stalker. They made me think differently after they confronted me on it. but I now know the truth, and like always, the truth will come out. Be safe out there, and always watch your surroundings, everyone, whether it's in real life or online. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my story, and if there's any more updates in the future, I promise I'll let you know. The story happened when I was in the 8th grade. I'm a 15-year-old girl now, but I was 13 at the time of the story. For context, I was still in a middle school, and instead of having different people in all of my classes, we'd travel as a homeroom. We'd have different teachers and classrooms for different subjects, but the students in my class always stayed the same. During the first half of the school year, I had this awesome teacher that taught my class math and science. However, after winter break, she had to leave due to personal reasons, which is why we had to have a new teacher for the rest of the school year. I'll call this teacher Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith was immediately one of my favorite teachers. He was in his late 20s and was pretty funny and friendly. Nobody in my class noticed until after the incident, but he had treated the guys and girls in our class pretty differently. For example, the group of guys in my class could just be having a conversation with each other before class even started, but if Mr. Smith heard any profanities or inappropriate language, he'd yell at the entire class for the entire 40-minute period, then make us sit at our desks with our heads down for any remaining time that we had left after that. But one time when I was going back and forth with my friend, I had accidentally let a shut up slip when talking to Mr. Smith. Well, all he did was calmly ask for an apology, and then completely let it go once I apologized. None of this stood out to us until later on, but it was definitely weird. I sat right behind the teacher's desk, my friend right beside me, so we'd hear most conversations that Mr. Smith had with the other students. There was this one girl in my class who I'll call Charlie for the sake of privacy, who had really struggled a lot in the math and science. Mr. Smith was always over at her desk, helping her with the work, which obviously isn't weird since that's what teachers are supposed to do. What was weird was that he had his Discord tag on a sticky note placed on the back of his computer that had faced the class. Apparently it was so that he could help students outside of school time, but teachers are not allowed to share any of their contact or social media info to students. Charlie ended up having to move to another province around the beginning of May, and my friend and I recall hearing a conversation between her and Mr. Smith about befriending each other on Snapchat so they could help her out with math and science after she moved. Now, this was odd, but me and my friend just brushed it off and didn't really realize how weird this was until after we found everything out. Once this girl had moved to the other province, she randomly sent a text to our class group chat one day saying that Mr. Smith sexually assaulted her. Everyone in this group chat was really confused, and we were all asking what the hell she meant and to elaborate. Well, she had sent screenshots of her chats with Mr. Smith on Discord as well as Snapchat to the group chat. I'll admit, as someone who's edited text before and edits a lot of things, these screenshots didn't look very real, so I didn't really believe any of it at first. However, one of the screenshots had a mirror pic of Mr. Smith, which had made me question if this was real or not. A bunch of the students in the group chat as well as me were discussing if these events were even real. And another kid in our class had sent screenshots of his text with Mr. Smith over Discord, talking about how accusations could ruin his life and career, but not denying any of it. I didn't know what to think. On one hand, it's very easy to edit text messages, and this Discord user could have been some random person posing as Mr. Smith, since the grammar in English wasn't very good. But on the other hand, this girl and Mr. Smith were always talking, and she would always stay back after class to get help with her work, and these are very serious allegations. I then explained to the other students in the group chat how serious this was, and that we shouldn't be jumping to assumptions and accusations, but we also shouldn't outright deny that this could be very real and true. We talked over the group chat for the next few days about this, until someone in our chat decided to screen record everything we wrote, all of the screenshots, our entire discussion, and then post it on YouTube. I didn't find out about this screen recording until I was called into the office after a few of my other classmates were, and we were all told that the screen recording was posted online and how all of mine and my other students' texts were also included on there. Everybody started leaving the group chat shortly after, and a note sent home from the school revealed that an investigation was opened on Mr. Smith. During this investigation, which lasted about 2 weeks, Mr. Smith was still allowed to teach us and be in the classroom with us, but he rarely ever was since he was dealing with the legal matters. He addressed this situation to us one time in class, and he almost broke down in tears in front of us, going on about how this could ruin his relationship with his fiancée, his career, as well as his relationship with his friends and family. I didn't know how to feel or what to believe. This was my favorite teacher that I'd talk to every day and laugh with, being accused of grooming and sexually assaulting another girl in my class. The investigation was closed shortly after, and we were all left really confused. Another note was sent home from school just stating that the investigation was now closed. That's it. He was allowed to teach us until the end of the school year. I recall one thing that made me quite uncomfortable. He was never inappropriate with me, but he did recommend me an anime one time that was borderline hentai, with the intro showing very young-looking girls in panties, which weirded me out. He also commented how he only watched the free anime, which is about swimming, only to see shirtless guys, which I think is kind of an inappropriate joke to make with your 13-year-old student. Another thing that made me uncomfortable was when we had some activity day at the end of the school year where we were all outside in the school field. I was wearing a crop top and tights since it was a hot day, which was very different from the regular baggy clothes that I'd always wear, and I remember him slowly looking me up and down when me and my friend were talking to him, which made me feel gross. The school year ended, and nothing happened at all during summer. Since the school was a 7 to 9, I went back the next year for grade 9, and I saw him passing by in the hallway once where we just said hi and that was it. I didn't see him again after that. Another note was sent home later that school year, saying that one of our substitute teachers by the name Mr. Smith was arrested on sexual assault of a minor. This freaked out me and my friends. Clearly they had something more incriminating this time to be able to place him under arrest. Well, he isn't allowed to work at school or with children anymore, and he has yet to still have a trial. All I know is that he was fired and arrested, and he can't come into contact with anyone that's under the age of 18. I know this isn't very scary since it didn't specifically happen to me, but it's freaky to know that my once favorite teacher that I got so close to and would laugh with every day ended up being arrested for sexually assaulting one of my classmates.